Hey guys, today I'm going to talk to you guys about my kids' lists. Pretty cool. Okay, let's jump right in. Every day when the kids start their day, they have a list that I've made for them. I make these lists. I make sure that everything on these lists is correct for the month ahead, that it's appropriate. For example, October is not a gardening month, so gardening's not on this list. But I update them, make sure they're good to go, and then I print them. I print them front and back. So you can see this is a whole week. This is Diego's list, by the way. So it says Diego's morning, and then I have the dates written at the top, September 18th through the 22nd. So that's the week that's just getting ready to begin now. And so as I've mentioned before, I colorize the days of the week, like on calendars and everything, just to kind of orient everybody. Not in a childish, today's a red day, but you just subconsciously, I think, start to go, oh yeah, red, okay, Mondays, we grocery shop that day. And it kind of puts a little bit of urgency on your Monday list when you're like, oh, we have a little less time today because we have to go run errands, or maybe I won't go this week and I'll have a little extra time to myself while mom does the shopping. So I think it's more, I don't know if the word is subliminal or subconscious, but it's not like a direct, like, okay, it's red, everybody, what does that mean? But it's more in the back of your mind. So I give my kids lists. I've done this for years now. And of course, it's changed over time. As I've said, everything has changed over time. Sometimes the list has involved morning things to do. Sometimes the list has involved evening, PM, end of the day things to do. Sometimes the list has had weekly things to do. Sometimes the list has had goals on it. Sometimes the list has had just like a daytime, like, okay, my day, I'm not free to go play or just do whatever I want to until this list is done. So it's been different things, depending on the time of the year, depending on the ages, depending on how much I think they want me or don't want me to be hands-on with what they're doing. But these lists are awesome. So the orange clipboard is Diego's, the pink clipboard is Francisca's. The lists are very, very similar. It's nothing life-altering, like, oh gosh, this is really hard, this is really intense. Like I said, I print these off every month. It's part of my family admin that I have to do, and I have a bunch of things that I print off, and I will make videos as time goes on talking about some of the different like monthly printing and just admin that I do, setting the calendar, making plans, having a checklist for cleaning so that I know that every space in my house has been cleaned once a month. So these lists, like I said, this is the upcoming week. And then on the back is, you can see that, is the week that follows after that. I base it on Monday. So for however many Mondays are in the month that I'm planning for, that's how many sheets I do. The first week of the month or the last week of the month might actually involve days from the previous month or the next month. We just roll right into it. In the last week to 10 days of the month, I do all my admin, and like I said, I update all of my sheets and all of my printing and everything. These lists help my kids to be independent. It helps them to keep focused without having to just obsessively think about what they're supposed to do, trying to remember everything. It's just a checklist. The goal is for them to just do their morning instinctively and then look at their list after the fact when they think they're done and just check everything off. Made my bed, yep. Pajamas away, yep. Refreshed my face, yep. Got dressed, yep. Did my hair, and just went right down the line. The idea isn't for them to actually walk around the house with this, like, okay, downstairs trash cans, let me set my list down and do that. Okay, and they don't even have to do all of the things on this list in that order. It's this idea that you start with structure, you give your kids structure and clearly communicate what the structure is, what they need to do. And then after that, you let them be free. It's like create like a horse, right? You put up a fence around where a horse is gonna live, and within those boundaries, the horse can do whatever it wants. It can run around, whatever. That's kind of how this is. I give my kids lists so that we can have more interesting conversations. It's not constantly, okay, brush your teeth, okay, take your vitamins, okay, we don't have to routinely talk about that. I mean, it's not like they just do it easily all the time, every day, no matter what. Sometimes they get distracted, or sometimes they go a little too slow eating breakfast. They romance it a little too much listening to a podcast or watching a video or something. And so they do need reminders at times like, hey, how's your morning list coming along? But I feel like everybody needs a little bit of structure. And I think it's easier to start with structure and then loosen it as time goes on if you need to, or not be like super militaristic, military, like very precise and on time and all of that, that you start with the structure, but you don't have to be militaristic about enforcing it exactly like that within the structure of a list. Then they can kind of decide how they want to do it. Before I go on anymore, because I'm sure you're like, well, show it to me. You flashed it up on the screen, but really show it to me. So I'll go ahead and put it on the screen now. This is Diego's list. This is for September. October is 2 weeks away. We're past the halfway point of September. So even though we're in the last week of summer, where we live in the Intermountain West, the weather has already kind of changed. All the pools are closed. So it's early fall now. You can see his morning list. Oh, so let me just back out of this for a second. Everybody needs some kind of structure. It's easier to start with structure and relax it than it is to start with no structure and then just be in the swirl of chaos and find just a little bit of structure. Life is way better when you start with more and then you can kind of like shave it away as you go, oh, okay, I got this. In addition to needing structure, kids and people, but kids need a deadline. Everybody needs a deadline. Walt Disney said this. He's known for being one of the most creative people ever. He was a lot of other things ever. Also, he was very productive. He had a pretty good mix with the help of his brother, Roy, of course, but he had a really good mix of being practical and getting things done and tackling the hard parts of a project, and a blend of being creative, being innovative, imagining the person who is observing what who's receiving this thing that he's creating, right? Observing the animatronics on Pirates of the Caribbean or something. He was really good at putting himself in their shoes and imagining how dazzling that would be, or how exciting and fun and magical that would feel. And Walt Disney said, everyone needs a deadline, and it's true. You'll see on this list that my kids have deadlines for each section of this list. Again, I'm not militaristic about it. Unless they push it, then I will get militaristic about it. The deadline for the morning list says 9 o'clock. Well, if they're ready at 9:05 because they were, doing something productive or helpful, or they got kind of on a roll with something, writing something or sketching something out, I'm not gonna get mad about that or be like, you didn't do it. It's like, no, the deadline is 9 o'clock, 9:05, that's not an everyday thing, but we make a little bit of exception for things that happen. Without a deadline, maybe they wouldn't be ready at 9:05 anyway. So the deadline just kind of is meant to be a guide, and it's meant to be helpful. Okay, so now that we've talked about the need for starting with structure and everyone needs a deadline, we can look at this again. So you can see Diego's morning. This is only for Monday through Friday. On the weekends, we kind of chill out, and I let them have more wiggle room, and I let them kind of just go from memory or just refer to this, sitting on their desk or something. I don't know why I just held that up, because I have this next to me on the screen. So you can see by 9 a.m. he needs to make his bed, put his pajamas away, and putting his pajamas away, it's up to him. Are they dirty? Does he need to put them in the hamper and get a new pair, the next night? Or does he just need to fold them up and put them on a bench or in a drawer or something? It's really up to him. But he needs to put his pajamas away, and he needs to refresh his face. To refresh their faces, my kids have, let me grab it real quick. They have these sprays. So these are from Trader Joe's. It just says refresh and hydrate. That is just like a rose facial toner spray. And then this is also from Trader Joe's. This is more of a summer thing, but it's a watermelon facial mist. I don't know if you can see that very well. But anyway, so they have these. They can use just like a washcloth with water. They can do whatever they want, but I think that refreshing their faces, it's got a subtle scent to it. It wakes you up. You feel it on your face, and it's like, okay, I'm awake now. I'm up. I'm not going back to bed. So they refresh their faces. If they want to full on take a shower, they can. But they need to just refresh themselves. Like, okay, I feel fresh. I feel good. I'm up. Today is up and running. And I use this too. My husband just uses a wet washcloth, but I use this stuff too, which is why this one is actually mine, and it's like mostly empty. Okay, then they need to get dressed. They need to do their hair. And I'm sorry about the nose thing. I have seasonal allergies, and it's out of control right now. Then they have their gratitude journals that they do. It's just like a journal, one of those notebooks that I think it's even like wide roll. I don't have one by me, but it can be even a spiral bound notebook, whatever. But my kids have gratitude journals. Actually, we all do. And they just need to write 5 things that they're grateful for, that they're happy about, that just kind of puts a spring in their step. And then he needs to look at his calendar. My kids both have calendars in their bedrooms with important things written on there. That's one of my admin things that I do, like at the end of the month for the upcoming month, is I grab their calendars and I just write in their hip hop classes. I add in tennis or pickleball or whatever other activities they have going on. Any like special things we have going on with friends. Next week, we are going to go see one of their friends performing like in a major theater production locally. And he's really into all that. His sister is too, but his younger sister, it's kind of cool. These friends, the brother and the sister are like exactly a year younger than my kids, and they all do. We met at dance. We're gonna go see him perform, so I'll put that on their calendars, anything that we have going on. So they need to each morning look at their calendar just to orient themselves to the day, orthodontist appointments, things like that. And then also their planners, which their academic planners, I'll show you. I let them pick their own planners out. And so this one is Diego's and this one is Francisca's. And it seems like a lot of work for me, like, wow, you're filling out his calendar and her calendar and a family calendar and his academic planner. And her, yeah, using a shared planner or a shared calendar, like that's fine when they're little, but as they're getting older, I want them to start to feel a sort of separateness or an independence. I feel like where I am now is kind of the link between shared family calendars and things like that to like managing it on their own more, and them taking their calendar to the family calendar and like referring to what we have going on and writing the things that matter to them. They just need to open up their academic planners. This is just an example of what Francisca's looks like. And just look at today in their planner, just so, again, to orient themselves to the day, to see, like, are we going to the library today? Are we going running errands today? Do I have an orthodontist appointment? Is today a project day and I get to work on that thing I've been wanting to work on? Just gratitude journal, checking their calendar, checking their planner, just so they're kind of oriented to what's going on today. Then I have nourishment, and that's on purpose, and that's to get them at least subconsciously thinking I'm feeding my body nutrients so that I can fully embrace the day. So nourishment involves food, vitamins, and drinks. Now that my kids are a little bit older, I'm trying to transition at least a few times a week to making a hot breakfast every morning. I think breakfast is really important. I know there's different, oh, you don't need breakfast, you don't need to eat that early, whatever. I feel like for kids, certainly that's important. I feel like now that I'm in my 40s, a couple of meals a day really does sustain me. But for them, I want them to have like a good solid meal when they wake up. I want them to grow. Both of my babies were really small and thin, and I want them to hit their potential based on genetics. Just size and brain development and everything. I don't always cook hot breakfast, so sometimes they can decide for themselves. They can have leftovers, they can have, peanut butter toast and, chopped up peaches or something. We have pre-made shakes. We have, shake, like I make shakes. I make smoothies sometimes. We have green juices that we'll put in like a fancy glass with ice. It makes it easier to drink the green juices if it's in like a wine glass. Anyway, so food, vitamins, and drinks, and they have vitamin caddies. I refill those each week. That's one of my weekly activities. That'll be a different video talking about just kind of running a household and how you manage, the monthly things that need to happen, the weekly things that need to happen, the daily things that need to happen, the periodic things that need to happen. And then I have brush my teeth number 1 because they have braces. Even not with braces, I actually think it's a good idea to brush your teeth a couple times during the day before nighttime, so like 3 times a day. They need to brush their teeth for the first time. Diego takes care of the downstairs trash cans, and then when we look at Francisca's list, you'll see hers says upstairs trash cans. And then garden, water, harvest, anything else needed. And that's this year we didn't do a great job of it, but we'll do a better job next year. We just had a lot going on, and next year we'll have drip irrigation everywhere, so we won't have to spend as much of our effort on watering. Bug management, trimming tomato plants, things like that, harvesting things that are ready to go, figuring out how do you know if something is ready to go. And garden, we're getting ready to clean them out. And so, for example, in October, this line, garden, is gonna be gone. I'm gonna delete that, but there may be something else there. Thursday, our trash collection is on Friday morning, so they both just have Thursday trash cans out and then Friday laundry ready, because on Fridays I do laundry. Laundry that might be a separate part of a different video. My kids know how to do laundry. My son especially, this is Diego's list, he's 13 now, he knows how to do his laundry. It's kind of a fine balance. I think it's important for your kids to be able to do for themselves. I think that's the most important thing. So the number one reason why, you teach your kids to do laundry is so that they can do their own laundry. But I don't want to weigh my children down, because you're only young for so long when your main responsibility is just you and growing and exploring and practicing and trying and testing. I don't want him to spend these years just doing his laundry, cleaning things in the house, fixing things, repairing things, doing manual labor. I want him to spend the vast majority of these years like very busy being productive, but in ways that are building himself up. So he knows how to do laundry. Sometimes he helps with it. And I did that on purpose so that he would feel more like, oh, I can do my laundry. I know what's going on. It's not a mystery, like black box type of thing. I will probably keep doing his laundry until he doesn't want me to do his laundry anymore. And that has to do with body odors. That happens to do with other things related to teenage boys. At some point, he's not gonna want his mama in his underwear. And at that point, he'll be able to take it over, because we've already talked about it. I've said you can do your laundry when you're ready, and he'll take that over. But until then, he may make sure that everything is ready to go. And I have a laundry calendar. That'll be another video where they can see, oh, okay, this week is, my sheets. We're washing my sheets. This week is not my sheets. This week is all of my bedding, so sheets and blanket. This week is nothing for me, but now this week we're washing our aprons. This week we're, whatever it is. So his main responsibility on Friday is just to make sure that his laundry is ready, so that when I grab his laundry basket, I can just, and I don't have to walk around the house like, did he put his hoodie in there? Did he put his pool towel in there? Like, he's facilitating me, helping him with his laundry. And then I do all the laundry. I fold it, or I lay it out nice and neat when it's ready to be hung up. And then I set it all on his bed and I let him know, hey, your laundry is ready. And he is really good. Typically within an hour, if not like 10 minutes, he stops what he's doing and he puts it away, because he appreciates the fact that I do his laundry for him. He knows what's involved, and yeah, he appreciates that I'm willing to spend my time and talent on that so that he can spend his time and talent on cool stuff, interesting stuff, and becoming more of who he's going to be. That's like an investment that we're both making by making that trade-off. Anyway, so that's his morning list, and it needs to be done by 9 o'clock, and he needs to be ready for academics at that time. And that's important, the ready for academics, because sometimes they'll get their morning, he'll get his morning list done at like 8:30. He'll get really into a project that he's working on, and I'll say, okay, let's do academics. And his body will join me, but his mind is somewhere else, and it's like pulling teeth to shift gears. So he knows that part of his morning list is being mentally, physically, everything ready for our day together and to start academics. That's his morning list. He needs to front load that. He can't just go, well, oh, that is 30 minutes, so I'll just play around till 8:30. That's not how it works. He has to front load it. But if he's done with everything, because he's really fast, by like 8:15, from 8:15 to 9 o'clock, within reason, he can do whatever he wants until 9 o'clock. Next, you can see down below is the daytime list. This is just his checklist so that before, that like the neighbor kids get home from school, like around 3:30. At his age, a lot of them have a lot of homework, so there's not a lot of playing that happens most school days, or that could happen most school days. Elementary, of course, is different. But before he wants to make plans to do something or asks me to run, can we go to Vans and look at shoes? Or he wants to get into a project that involves, getting a lot of things out and covering his desk in fabric or something like that. He knows that he needs to make sure that everything on this daytime list is done, squared away. Again, everyone needs a deadline. So I've just said that the deadline for that is 4 o'clock. Part of why the deadline for that part of why it's 4 o'clock is because I want my kids, just like with money, I want them to get used to having money. I want my kids to get used to having some free time where they're not just, you need to do that, where things are not demanding their attention all the time. I want them to feel like they have some just, okay, my responsibilities are done. I've got some free time. Now, my goal is for that list to be done by 3 or earlier. So that deadline is actually more generous in terms of how much time he has to get it done than what I hope he needs. But dinner's at 5, and so that would give him an hour to just screw around and do what he wants, let his mind wander. This list includes academics, and academics would be his academic planner. Brush my teeth, number 2. Create. So I want my kids to create every day. Create a poem, create something funny, whatever, I don't know, but I just want my kids to be creators, to be creative. Earnings on track for the week, and remember, earnings, that's his goal. He decides what his earnings goal is, and so he just needs to know if it's on track for the week. I don't inspect that and go, well, your goal was $20 this week and you've only made $2. What's up with that? That's for him to manage, because he starts the week knowing, okay, if I'm going to mow this week, what day am I going to mow this week? If he's looking at the list on Tuesday, but he's going to mow on Wednesday, even though he hasn't earned anything during the week, he knows he's on track for the week because he's working a specific plan. So earnings on track for the week, whatever that looks like for him. Journal about today. So they have another journal we all do that's just thoughts or whatever about the day. And it was really listening to the Outlander series, which I know is now a TV show, but my dad's wife told me about it, I don't know, like 2006, 2007, maybe 2008, somewhere in there. And so long before many people knew about it. It's very immersive. It's historical fiction. The character that is really from the 1700s, James Fraser, Jamie, he journals a lot. And learning about genealogy and some of my family history, I've learned, gosh, we know so much just from people's journals. We know about truth. We know about lies based on people's journals as I'm looking into a church parking lot out my window. I just was thinking of a specific example. I don't care what they journal about today, and their journal is private. And again, that's a practice of boundaries, right? We don't read each other's journals. It builds up trust to know that. It also gives us all like an independence or like a separateness just as individual people. Journal about today, it can be a sentence, it can be 5 sentences. I don't really care, but it's more about paving that pathway and having a journal that you can look back on and connect with who you were or what you were thinking ago, however long ago. A week ago or 10 years ago. Finish all planner things. He has other things in his planner too, not just academics. Some of those planner things are really for him to write down, but some of them are for me to write down. For example, during the summer, my kids are very active. I mean, most kids are, right? You spontaneously go, hey, we're gonna go for a bike ride, or we're gonna go over to the creek and go, wade around in the mud for a couple of hours. You're pulling weeds, you're mowing a lawn, which is very physical. You're just doing all kinds of things. You're outside playing, running around with other people. Something that hasn't really been on their daily list as the warm weather has been here, but normally is during the cold season, is fitness. For my kids, we have them in different activities. We do things together as a family. We do fitness here, but we've done a lot of different things over the years. We've done high fitness. We have an elliptical. We've had gym memberships. We've done a lot of different things. Like I've said, my kids do a lot of physical activities, whether it's around the house or like leagues, rec leagues and things like that. But fitness for us, really what it is being active, just having an active lifestyle anyway, not being lazy, taking your shopping cart back. But it's also being active for at least an hour every day, where your heart rate is up, where you're breathing hard, or where you're, straining in some way. That's what fitness is for us, and then we facilitate them doing what they want to do as much as possible. So while the weather's been warm, that's just kind of naturally happened. We haven't had to set out to intentionally do that just through, oh, hey, can I go play with so-and-so next door or across the street? Yeah, and they're just running around all day. That hasn't been here. Some days I've put it in the planner during the summer when they haven't had scheduled summer activities, or I just feel like, yeah, today's a good day for them to make sure that they run or something. As it's getting colder, so something else that's going to come onto the list for October is fitness. And like I said, they both know for them fitness just means being active for about an hour. That can be going for a walk. Like it can be, I don't judge it too much because it's their body, it's their life, but it's just about moving around and taking care of your body and using it. When I say finish all planner things, fitness would be an example, mowing the lawn would be an example. I mean, there's just a lot of things that go in the planner, that can go in the planner. So the purpose of that is for them to open up their planner one last time, make sure everything for the day is crossed off and go, okay, I didn't forget anything, I didn't miss anything, because not everything that they do in terms of their education or investing in themselves as people is academic. Next, it says help out. Am I doing my job? So we've talked a lot about your job. Their job is to develop themselves as people. Their job is to show love to their family. Their job is to take care of themselves. Their job is to do things where they stand up tall and they're like, yes, like I respect myself. Admiration for myself, I have awe, I have respect. We've had a lot of conversations about what their job is as a person at this stage of their life. And part of that is helping out, making my life easier, not all the time, but just in some way. That when their head hits the pillow at night, they go, yeah, I helped my mom, I brought in groceries. I gave her a hug when she was feeling stressed out. I went out and harvested all the rest of the tomatoes for her, whatever. We don't judge that. We're not like, well, you need to spend this much time, or you need to do this and that. It's about them. If what you did to help out as a 13-year-old was bring in the mail, do you really feel awesome about yourself for having done that? Like, do you really feel like that genuinely was helpful? It's more like a personal thing. Like I said, I think a lot of education, a lot of developing ourselves is responding to different things in our environment. And it's self-propelled, or a lot of that growing and learning is done inside our minds. So it's just, hey, are you doing your job? I don't know. Have you helped out? And so they cross that off, and then clean up after myself. And that's a room by room tidy. You can think, oh, I cleaned up after myself, but it's walking room by room in the house, just doing a quick scan. Nothing in here is mine that I put in here, and nothing in here is out because I left it out. So it's just a room by room tidy. Our house isn't, huge. So, the room by room tidy, if they really have cleaned up after themselves, it should not even take 10 minutes. That's his daytime list right now. And I want to say, when he was younger, there was a lot more hand holding. Like, his morning list was a lot more precise, putting things in the dirty clothes basket. And it was way more precise, way more hand holding, way more micromanaged. But as he's grown older and he's shown that he can handle just not as specific cues, that's what this has become. Then there's no evening list, if you see on here. We haven't done an evening list with our kids for at least 6 months now, because they've kind of got it down, and they're old enough now. A lot of their activities happen at night, so most nights are kind of different. Monday nights we live stream on my husband's channel. Tuesday nights they have tennis, not all year round, but it comes in lumps of 6 weeks here, 6 weeks there. During the summer, it's more in the morning. But so Tuesday nights we have tennis. Wednesday nights they have hip hop. Thursday night and Friday night we don't have anything planned or scheduled. So every night is different anyway, and they know what they need to do at this point. Like, it's, my son does, but my daughter does too. And it's funny how being in that environment where there's two kids who both kind of know, they just reinforce each other doing the right thing. So she, even though she's only 9, she doesn't have an evening list anymore either, even though when he was 9 he did, because he kind of reminds her and reinforces just by her observing him doing it. So in the evening they know what to do. They know that they need to not leave anything out. They know that they need to thoroughly clean their teeth. That's water flossing, string flossing, using their electric toothbrush, brushing their teeth, mouth washing. And then my son, they both have braces, like I've said, but he's wearing an elastic right now, so making sure he has his elastic, putting on their pajamas and just chilling the last hour at the end of the day. We don't look at screens as much as possible so that we can start to chill and relax. They can have a glass of sleepy time tea before they do their teeth if they want to. So they've kind of got it down. Because we have more going on at night, they have a little more free time at night. So they just don't have an evening list here anymore. But they do have a weeklies list. Everybody needs a deadline. So the deadline on this one is Friday at 3:00. But again, that's a very generous deadline. So hopefully he can get it done at least a couple of hours before that. About the deadlines real quick, going back up to the morning, 9:00 is not a super generous deadline. Something that we do pretty routinely Monday through Friday in the morning as a family that's not on this list, because we just all need to know it. I want some things to just be like, you just know that. We ambulate, jumping back to the morning just for a second. So the 9 a.m. deadline is not super generous, but we don't have a lot of time. We need to get up and get our day going. My husband and I get up at 5. The kids need to be up by 7. So at 7:10, we do something called forward ambulation. That's something that we learned from Andrew Huberman, like almost a year and a half ago. Andrew Huberman Labs. If you don't know who he is, you should. We just do like a 15-minute walk around our neighborhood every morning. It's not always 7:10 because it has to do with the sunrise. We do it as early as we can. And so at 7:10, we all need to be ready to go. As an act of respect and love for each other, we don't hold each other up. Now, sometimes the kids had a rough night of sleep, and so they may just say, I'm not going to come. And they can do that sometimes, but they can't just do that all the time. Like, they know they have a certain number of skip days a week before it just is a habit that they never go. So it's all about habits. This is all about forming good, positive habits. We do that in the morning. We forward ambulate at 7:10, so by 7:30 we're done. If they haven't started their morning list yet, that gives them from 7:30 to 9 o'clock. That might be a little bit tight. We just have a lot going on, and we need to just jump into the day and get our days going like as quickly as possible. Okay, so, but then the daytime deadline is generous and the weekly deadline is generous, in my opinion. Weekly. So again, the weeklies, I update this every month because some things change, and some things are just always on there. So his weeklies, he needs to charge his toothbrush, he needs to charge his water flosser, he needs to trim his nails, and it's up to him if his toenails need it or don't need it. I don't want to look at your nails and see like, old woman nails, you know what I'm talking about, the long ones that look like you neglect yourself. We've all seen those feet and hands. We're not playing that game. Laundry, all finished. So any laundry that I've put on his bed or that I've given to him, he has put it away. So if the laundry isn't done, which right now it hasn't really been because I think our dryer needs a new heating element, but our washer is also having issues. They're both like 14 and a half years old at this point. So we're trying to figure out if we should replace them or fix them. Anyway, so the dryer's just taking longer now. But whatever laundry that he has is done and put away. Trash and recycle bins go out on Thursday. Trash and recycle bins come in on Friday. So that's something that my kids do together. On our family calendar, I will write recycle on the weeks because it's recycle every other week. So they don't have to remember that, but they do have to check the calendar to see if it's a recycle week or not. Make sure that their garden is good. Everything is good with that. They need to lock in their earnings, which I did do a video about my son's budget when he was still 12, talking about how we lock that in. So he needs to make sure he gets it locked in. If it's the last Friday of the month, he also needs to make sure that we did payday. And then his bedroom. Every Friday, he needs to make sure it's tidy. He needs to make sure that he's vacuumed it. He needs to wipe off the flat surfaces that collect dust. And he needs to spray a little bit of Febreze just to like freshen it up a little bit. The area where my kids do a lot of their education, the room that we have dedicated to them, it's actually the front room of our house right by the front door. We call it the lab, the laboratory, because that reinforces what we're trying to do, right? A laboratory is where you test things, you get messy, you make mistakes, you create, you learn, you grow, you relax. My kids have lab coats. It's a lot of fun. They have safety glasses. The lab. So the lab is a very large, like long rectangular space. My kids are each responsible for half of it, like vacuum, just weekly, just making sure it's vacuumed, making sure things are put away and it's tidy. And the thing is, if you start the week with things this way, it doesn't take that much time to like make sure it's tidy, but it's their space. A lot of the space, if you count my husband's, well, it's my business too, but our business, and my children's education stuff, half, if not more, of our house is dedicated to just those two things. If we're gonna do that, they need to do what they can to take care of it. Now, I clean the lab once a month, and I help them clean their rooms once a month. We get more deep and thorough. Weekly, they need to just make sure that space is like usable, and when you wake up in the morning and you go into the lab, you feel like, okay, I'm ready. I can do anything here, instead of feeling kind of dragged down because books are everywhere and fabric is everywhere and all that good stuff. So half lab, and then wash water flossers. He just needs to bring his water flosser to the kitchen. I'm happy to wash it. Again, he knows how to do it, but it's just one of those things that while I'm doing it, I'm okay to do all of them. You need to be kind of gentle with parts of it so that they don't, tear. As long as he makes it easy for me to clean it for him, he brings it downstairs, and then when it's all dry and everything, he takes it back up. As long as he makes it easy for me to clean it, I'm happy to clean it for him. But if he wants to do it himself, he totally can too. Bring your water flosser to the kitchen so that mom can wash it. At the end of the week, he just needs to make sure that all of his academics got done. Sometimes we get a little bit behind on things, and so Friday, we have less things planned on Friday, so it's more of a catch-up day if needed, or it's more of a project day if we don't need to catch up on anything. All planner things done. That's a daily thing too, and then ready for the weekend. Something that is going to go back on this list for October is his My Tech High learning log. That's a weekly activity. My Tech High is the program. It's not a school, but they fund in our state, well, in many states, particularly in the Western U.S., homeschoolers can join. It's kind of like an online school situation, but it's really homeschool, like you make all the decisions yourself. It's basically, and I'm very like libertarian, very contrary, like don't tell me what to do, like do no harm, but take no shit. Like that's definitely kind of how I am. So I avoided doing a program like this for a long time, but it truly is as hands-off a program as you could get while still getting thousands of dollars a year in funding. And that money for us actually goes into mutual funds for our kids. So it's great because as they finish their like lower education, right, high school, which for Diego, he's 13, he's got 2 to 3 years left and then he'll be done. That money will be there for him to use to start a little business, to buy a trailer, to get a laptop to do, you know, more animations with or whatever. It's really great. But so the MyTech High Learning logs during the school year, you have to every week submit a learning log where you talk about something that you did that week. So that's something that will go on the weeklies for October. We've already started, but it started midway through September, so I just didn't put it on here. But yeah, so this is his list. It's been wonderful. Like I said, you need to start with structure, and then everything inside that structure, they're kind of free to fly. But then also, if that structure needs to shift and change or relax a little bit, you know, if you imagine it's a fence, maybe make the fence a little shorter, or maybe stretch it out a little bit, or change the color of it, whatever. They can do that. You can do that. And as they get going, you know, through doing and through action, you can kind of make some changes. Like, okay, you know what? You don't need it that specific anymore. So we won't do that. Something else that's not on here that used to be on here, on the evening list at least, was shower. So shower, lotion, wash my face, shampoo my hair, all that kind of stuff. Neither of my kids need that anymore. Now we just have a general rule of thumb, and with taking showers, for example, or with bathing, which is you can bathe however you want, enjoy yourself, but don't waste water. If you showered yesterday, in the meantime, you haven't really gotten dirty, you don't have to shower. If you didn't shower yesterday, whether you got dirty or not, you need to shower today. They don't have to shower every day, but if they got dirty, like for example, swimming in a swimming pool with chlorine, they got dirty. They have to shower. It's not a question. Even if they showered this morning, it doesn't matter. After you go swimming, you take a shower. If the next day, they're just mostly around the house, maybe they pull some weeds or whatever, but they don't feel dirty, then it's up to them. They can shower if they want to, but they don't have to. Body lotion, I used to be really, like I said, we live in the Intermountain West and it is extremely dry here and the water is pretty hard. And so I used to be very like face lotion, body lotion, every single time. It's not a discussion. It's been long enough now and my kids are in puberty, so their skin is kind of changing, that I just say, if you want to do body lotion, go ahead. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But if I see you walking around and you have like rashes on your skin because it's dry, or if I look at your legs and they look really dry and like if you scratched them there'd be a white line, that's not okay. That's you neglecting yourself. You have freedom to not do things the way I tell you to do them, but you also are not free to neglect yourself. So just as an example, something that's not on this list anymore but used to be. Real quick, I'll show you Francisca's list. It is almost exactly the same as Diego's, so it's right here. I will throw it up on the screen probably over here now. We're gonna mostly talk about ways that it's different. The morning list is almost exactly the same, except where Diego said downstairs trash cans, I already mentioned this, Francisca says upstairs small trash cans. Upstairs we have a large trash can actually in here. Like I said, this is my husband's studio. So she doesn't do that one. It's just a little too big and unwieldy for her. That's not her responsibility, but all the other like upstairs trash cans are her responsibility, except for the bedroom trash cans too. Everybody takes care of their own trash can in their bedroom. But like the laundry room, the bathrooms, the other like smaller trash cans in here. But otherwise her morning list is the same as him. Same expectation of timing, same, you know, clear your mind, be ready for academics. The main difference is she just needs more reinforcement. She just basically needs more reinforcement. And, you know, sometimes she wants to wear makeup or sometimes she's a little more fussy about what she's wearing. And that's okay. She can do that, but she still needs to be ready at 9. And something, you know, I've talked about budgeting and transferring money to my kids. One of the things that I do to help them practice independence is we give them money every month for personal items, toiletries, hygiene products, things like that. Even though sometimes she wears makeup, but my son never does. They may have different spending preferences. We give them the same amount of money because, you know, in the world, you don't get more money because you're a woman and you want to buy more clothes or you want to wear makeup, or, you know, you don't make less because you're a guy and you don't have purchases like that. So we give them the same amount of money. Basically what I've done now is I've given her what I think is enough for her if she's being really smart. And then my son, he just gets the same amount. You know, we try to treat them not the same, but be as level as possible. And in some ways, he kind of has a natural advantage over her because he doesn't need as much help. And in some ways, she has a little bit more of an advantage over him. Like, for example, they have the same clothing budgets, but she inherits all of his old stuff. So she has like twice as many clothes as him. And she has a mom who has a sewing machine who can turn a lot of her brother's old stuff into really cute, roughly feminine stuff that she can run around in and play in and has pockets and everything. That'll actually be another video that I'm planning on doing to show how I do that. You don't need to be a seamstress to be able to do that, by the way. Back to the list. So that's the only way that their morning lists differ. And in terms of my experience as a parent, she checks her list more, partly because she's a little more of a free spirit, but also I think her age. And she just needs more encouragement, like her D vitamin. You know, you have to swallow that. She has to always be reminded, did you take your D vitamin? You had your other chewables, but did you have your D vitamin? Daytime lists are basically the same for both of them. Yeah, they're exactly the same deadline, same everything. Again, she just needs more involvement from me, more hand-holding, and it's more collaborative. We do more things together, whereas Diego kind of just does things more on his own. That's a personality thing. I think that's a sex thing, and it's probably an age thing too. And then their weeklies are also basically the same, other than on hers, you can see it says water and feed my orchid. Her orchid is no longer with us, so this won't be on the list in October either. So another difference with the weeklies is I pretty much do a lot of this with her. My bedroom, we pretty much do that together. The lab, we pretty much do that together. Her laundry, I put all of her hanging stuff away for her, but she does all of her folded like dresser stuff herself. And then probably every month or two, I help her take everything out of her dresser and we reorganize it just because it gets crazy. It can be very chaotic. I feel like your environment really does affect your thinking. And so I don't want her to be in a chaotic environment. It's like, I don't want to fix it for her because she needs to practice that, but I don't want her to only be able to have her room as clean as she can maintain it. I think that's sort of mean. So I come alongside her every couple months and we do it together. Okay, so those are their lists. That's it. I hope that was helpful. As they change, maybe we'll do this again at some point. If there's any questions, I can probably go back and see what they used to look like when they were 5, 6, something like that, you know, much younger. You know, their dexterity wasn't quite as good. We did a lot more for them. We brushed their teeth. You know, when they would brush their teeth, we figured out, lay down like at the dentist's office. It's way easier and it's way less messy. So there were a lot of different things over the years that happened. So if anyone's interested in that, let me know. Otherwise, that's it on where their lists are now as a 13-year-old and as a 9.5, almost 10-year-old. That's it. Bye.